Well, hello there, and welcome to CityLine via Zoom and my kitchen. It's great to be with you today. We have a wonderful hour ahead of us. Later on, we'll be talking with John Douglas Rake from Tacoma Musical Playhouse, and he'll be here talking about how he and his team are adjusting their performances and their programming during COVID-19, and also what you can do to help Tacoma Musical Playhouse right now. Then we'll have Tacoma's Farmers Market. They opened a couple weeks ago, or actually I think it was last week, and nobody does farmers markets like Tacomans. So we're going to talk with Anika and find out how we go about being a safe participant in the farmers market. And then Pam Duncan, President and CEO of MDC, will be here to talk about a partnership that she has right now with Tacoma Urban League in terms of a webinar called Straight Talk. You want to stick around for that. Humane Society is back with our Pet of the Week. And then with me right now, I have a wonderful individual. She is a registered dietitian and certified yoga teacher, and she is here to talk about stress-reducing tips while we're in this pandemic. Please join me in welcoming Christy Goff. Hello, Miss Christy. How are you?
How are you?
I'm well, and your background looks so incredibly calm and inviting.
Yeah, plants can help that out, right?
I have to put that note on. Put plants in the house, and not the kind that are painted on pictures. So, Christy, I'm sure your friends and family have been peppering you with things to do in the pandemic to help our stress levels go down. And I don't know about you, but mine, of course, on any given day, at any given moment, as a friend of mine says, as I'm on the Corona coaster, they ramp up and then they ramp back down. Are you hearing those same things from your clients and the people in your life?
Yes, definitely. And I personally feel like I'm still on that roller coaster. Some days you're really happy and productive, and other days it hits you that we're still in this pandemic and it's lasting as long as it is. So definitely hearing it from a lot of people.
Christy, what can we do to regain our balance? I mean, this is hard because we all have those mechanisms that help us maybe BC, before COVID. We were, we had those ways of managing stress. We had a rhythm. And now while we're in COVID, it seems like a lot of those things are real tenuous. So what can we do to keep ourselves on that balance?
That's a great question, and it can be different for everyone, but the first thing I recommend is always just checking in with your own emotional state. It can be stressful and painful to do that, but once we can identify what exactly we're getting stressed or what that stressor might be, we can find a lot more ways to cope with that stressor. So in yoga, we talk a lot about not ignoring our emotions, but inviting them in so that we can actually explore them and get through them. So it takes some challenge with that. One of the things that you can do once you do check in is asking for support, whether that be a mental health provider, a friend, a family member, someone that's probably experiencing something pretty similar to what you are now. I think that connection can be huge to just release that feelings of like, this is happening only to me, I'm all alone in this, where we have a lot of people dealing with the same types of stressors right now.
Oh, that is such good advice. And that just so rang true. My heart kind of flipped when you said, we have a lot of people going through this, you're not alone. Because I have seen, we talk about the social distancing, but we don't want to emotionally distance or emotionally disconnect. Mm-hmm. And I've seen so much on social media. People are really sharing a lot now about what they're going through. And I think it goes a long way in terms of talking about that we are not alone in terms of dealing with money problems, family problems, partner problems, caretaker problems. We have more now on our plate than we ever had. So tell us, Christy, what will that stress do to us? Because I know for me, sometimes I don't recognize my physical stressors until I crash. And then oh, wait a minute. So what should we be looking for?
So stress can interact with a lot of different bodily functions. So the main thing is you're in a fight or flight mode, meaning that your body is gearing up for danger or fear. So usually our heart beats faster in an extreme stressful situation. We can have anxiety. We can have headaches and physical symptoms like a stomach ache, which is really common since a lot of our digestion slows down when we're stressed out. We find that a lot of different health values can be affected with stress. So in the long term, our sleep can diminish. We can have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So all of these things over time can really tax the body and create a lot of inflammation that we don't necessarily need.
Yeah, because inflammation in so many ways equals pain, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's jump to, since we talked about inflammation, my brain goes right to nutrition. So how does nutrition relate to stress? And what are your suggestions? Because I fessed up before we went on the air. I said, gee, before COVID, I had great nutrition. And now somehow my mind thinks that Reese's peanut butter cups once a day is a good thing. And I know you're like, oh, Amanda. So what are your suggestions for our nutrition? And also ways for us to be gentle about those Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yes, definitely. So humans have evolved to react in a certain way when we are stressed. So it was beneficial when we were in a dangerous situation to crave calories, to crave sugar and carbs and caffeine kind of more recently, because that gave our body energy to get out of that situation. So we still have this immense craving for these comfort foods, a lot of us call them, that are fatty, salty, sugary, that actually provide us some feel-good hormones and some motivation to eat them to kind of replenish the body from that stress we might have endured. Now, a lot of our stress now is in the mind. We're not running away from predators, so that's not always a good thing anymore, right? It's interesting that the hormone cortisol, that's a really kind of prominent stress hormone, it actually scrambles the appetite control center in the brain, making us have different eating patterns when we are in that state of stress. So there was an interesting poll done that I found in a book called The Hungry Brain, where 79% of participants reported some kind of change in appetite when they were stressed. Now, it's kind of individual if you're going to be that person that's overeating or undereating. So it's split down the middle. About 36% of people reported skipping a meal and 43% of people reported overeating. So first, when you're talking about nutrition and stress, is hopefully you can identify that stressor like we just talked about. And then how can we kind of notice our own tendencies around food when we are stressed? Food is definitely comfort. It's there for a reason. It gives us some feel good and some warmth. But if we're overdoing it, that's where we can get into some of the problems around gaining weight or having those digestive symptoms. So first, notice those patterns. Secondly, I always promote eating regular meals. A lot of us have a very different routine than we used to. So we might be eating breakfast maybe much later or earlier. We could be grazing all day rather than just sitting down for some equal meals and that are hearty and healthy. So I would just ask you to think about what timing your meals are at, and if your meals are full of protein, carbohydrates, good healthy fats like olive oil and avocados, nuts and seeds can be a good one, and making sure you have some good fiber to fill you up. Those are all going to kind of go into that craving cycle and say, well, I'm full. I'm not really necessarily craving anything else right now.
Oh, I love that.
Those are just a couple tips.
Great tips. So let's switch to mindfulness in this last 3 minutes here. So give us a few tips about just those moments where we need to breathe.
Yeah, mindfulness is basically maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts, feeling, and bodily sensations, and using a gentle lens to look at them. So we're not judging them. We're not thinking that they're right or wrong. We're just noticing what comes up. So this can be really important when we talk about stress. Stress is typically created because we're thinking about the future or we're rehashing what happened in the past. So if we can be in this moment and not have to worry about anything at this moment, it does help us kind of slow that natural stress response so it goes away, or at least temporarily you get a break from it. So mindfulness, a couple things you could start by is just noticing your breath. If you're kind of like that hyperventilating or just not even noticing that you're breathing, it's helpful to take at least 5 minutes of deep breathing, which can actually switch your your sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight mode we talked about, into a more relaxed nervous system, that parasympathetic nervous system. So they found a lot of great research around just breathing, which is awesome because it's free. Another one that a lot of people might have heard of is meditation. If you're new to meditation, it's essentially just, again, watching your mind, seeing what comes up, not necessarily judging what's there, but letting it kind of come up in your mind and then letting it go. And this can be done through a guided meditation, which is usually recommended if you're new to it. There's tons of different techniques, so it's kind of about finding the right one that's going to work for you. And it's not about getting any gratification from that meditation, but people tend to notice the effects of meditation in their other daily life, not on the meditation cushion or on the floor, but kind of more in their regular life around slowing with reactions, being able to notice when they are stressed and tune into those physical symptoms that we were talking about. So you don't have to be like a meditation guru to try this out. There's things called mini meditations where you are just for short periods of time focusing on what's going on in that head of yours. So while you're in line for the grocery store, while you're waiting for your food to come out of the microwave, these are places where you can just pause and say, what am I feeling right now? What's coming up? Am I annoyed? Am I judging? Am I irritated? And that can be kind of a path for just calming that nervous system down so that you're not always in that such a reaction state.
Beautifully said. So, Christy,
yeah, it's a mouthful. Sorry.
very, very educational. And it's very right on. So in this last minute, do you have some resources that we can direct our viewing audience to? Because everybody needs resources for minimizing stress.
Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, I'm from Pacific Medical Center, and we are doing a whole mental health campaign for the next few months. So we have a landing page on pacmed.org that goes over all of our resources around COVID stress, around exercising, around just like meditation and all those good things. So definitely check that out. I love recommending mindful.org. This is a great place if you're curious about mindfulness. It talks about mindful eating as well. So as a dietitian, I'm also recommending it in that way. Another one that's really great is American Psychological Association. So lots of great research-based programming and articles. There's some specific COVID-related resources as well. And then lastly, I love the Harvard Public Health site. So this has some guided meditations on it that I've really enjoyed doing. They have a COVID resource center, and they have a ton of information about the different types of meditations and then kind of linking you to other resources from that. So I'm not affiliated with those last three, but I enjoy using them for my own.
Christy, thank you so much for being here. I already feel calmer, and I wrote down all those resources thinking, okay, tonight I'm going to go find a new meditation and I'm going to channel calm Christy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so very much. I would
love them.
Come back as we work through our phases here of reopening, because we're going to need somebody who's going to remind us to breathe and breathe well. So
exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.